Hello everyone. So I get a lot of people asking me how I manage power in my settlements because they never see any wires, and it's a very good question. I never really talk about it since I do all of the power setup while decorating, so I figured I'd make a quick video explaining how I do it. So the way I set it up now is very easy with all the mods that we have. There are at least a few for each platform, PS4 included, that increase the power radius of your conduits and pylons. I do have links to those mods for each platform listed in the description if you want to check them out. So to show you what I'm talking about, behind my schoolhouse I have a generator which I got from Workshop Rearranged that produces 20 volts of power, and it's connected to one conduit. Now without mods, this conduit's wireless power couldn't stretch across this house. It's like 2 or 3 square walls. But since I'm using one of those mods that increase the power radius, this one conduit stretches across half the settlement. It's powering my hotel, the gates, and the factory, and I have another generator and conduit just like this set up over behind my sheriff's office, and that one is giving power to the other half of my settlement where the marketplace is and the barn. So it's really just these two things that's giving me power. Now there are some mods that give us items that normally have to be attached to a power source with a wire, like a street light, and make them wireless. So a good example of that is Vanilla Extensions. That mod gives us wireless street lights. So as long as it's within the power radius of one of those conduits, then it will light up. But there still are a few things that require a direct connection, and the way that I keep that very minimal without seeing a bunch of wires is also with Vanilla Extensions. I talked about this a little bit in my gate build video. We get these batteries that produce some power, not a lot, but they snap to these tables and we get a connector that snaps to them, which allows us to attach a wire. And that's how I set these up. You see, it's very minimal. Power comes from here, and then I just need a short wire to connect to the beacon. So if you don't use mods, I'll show you the way that I used to set up my power. I would place a generator very close to the building and enclose it with a wall and roof. You'll see that a lot in my older build videos, like my Wanderer's House or Museum. The Museum build is probably the best example for how I used to run my power if you want to check that out. So once the generator is set up, I would place these conduits just below the roof, and if you have the Vault-Tec DLC, we get these smaller white conduits that are easier to hide and are just less noticeable. Now depending on the size of the structure, let's just use this house for example, I would place at least 4 conduits on one side of this house. That way they're closer to each other and the wire doesn't hang down as low. You don't need that many to power the house, of course, so it's a little wasteful as far as resources go, but it looks nicer, so what are you gonna do? Alright, as far as connecting wires go, the wires don't clip through anything. They can't have anything in their way, otherwise they're not going to connect. Like right here, when I try to connect these 2 conduits on the corner, it's not going to work because the wire is clipping through the edge of the house. But there is a glitch that allows us to get around this. If you highlight the wire and are close enough to the conduit or whatever connector and click the attach wire button, which for me it's Y because I'm on the Xbox, then you'll see and hear a spark. Now whenever I select another connector like this conduit, you see the wire glitched on. This is a pretty old glitch, but if you haven't seen it before, I'll go over it in a little bit more detail. So when you highlight a connector, which can be a conduit, a generator, a pylon, you'll see the option to attach a wire, which does exactly that. Now when you select the wire, you don't have that option. But if you are close enough to the connector on either side, you just can't be in the middle of the wire. See, I can click Y right here all day and it's not going to happen. You have to be just on the edge to where if you inch over one way, you're selecting the connector, and if you inch back the other way, you're selecting the wire. And now with the wire highlighted, I click Y to attach a wire, even though I don't have that option. You hear it spark and see that little flicker? That indicates that the glitch is activated. Now it doesn't matter where the connector is, if I can select it, then the wire is going to clip through anything to connect to it. Like here, you see the wire is clipping through the house and connecting to the conduit I just selected. Now, I wasn't the one to discover this glitch. I found it by watching Wasteland Dovahkin's video, which I'll have a link to in the description if you want to check it out. She goes into a little more detail and gives you a few more examples. But I hope this helps. If you guys have any more questions, definitely let me know and I'll respond as soon as I can. Here's the link to my museum video that I mentioned earlier if you want to check that out. But thanks for watching. Give this video a like and hit that subscribe button for more content like this. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.